A drone filming the rugged coast of Northern Ireland just caught a solid stone pillar opening. It looks like a secret door to a giant's lair has been found.
A massive stone door in the cliffs of Northern Ireland's Giant's Causeway opened for just 11 seconds, revealing total darkness before sealing shut so perfectly that no trace remained. At first, experts thought the footage had to be impossible, but AI-driven scans soon detected something far more disturbing behind the basalt wall. 7 enormous figures standing inside a hidden chamber frozen in time for 60 million years. What began as a geological mystery quickly became a terrifying discovery that challenged history, science, and even humanity's understanding of life on Earth. The stone door discovery. On a seemingly ordinary autumn evening, Kieran Doyle, a Dublin electrician, launched his drone over Northern Ireland's Giant's Causeway, just like countless times before, to capture sweeping views of the rugged coastline. What happened next stunned everyone who saw the footage. The video showed something nobody expected. A massive 20-ton slab of basalt, part of the cliff face itself, slowly swinging open like a gigantic stone door. This opening lasted exactly 11 seconds, revealing pitch-black darkness behind the stone before it closed again flawlessly. The precision was eerie. No cracks, no seams, no hint that anything had moved at all. Doyle almost dismissed the clip, suspecting a glitch or trick of light, but on repeated viewings, shifting shadows inside the hollow space confirmed something was truly there. What defied logic was that this was solid volcanic rock, a formation geologists had studied for 60 years with no indication that anything beneath the surface could move or open. The Giant's Causeway was thought to be a geological constant, its characteristic hexagonal basalt columns standing firm against time. That evening, however, everything changed. Word spread quickly, bringing a mix of fascination and skepticism. Scientists, researchers, and journalists reached out to Doyle overnight, desperate to know if the footage was real or a sophisticated hoax. Almost immediately, the region saw an influx of experts and intrigued visitors, all drawn by the mystery of the moving rock face. What made this discovery so unsettling wasn't only the door itself, but what was briefly seen in the seconds it stayed ajar. Something or someone stepped out from the darkness and then was gone, before the stone actually slammed shut. Nobody could quite say what it was that appeared, or where it went. That unexplained presence behind the door would end up being the real core of the investigation. The odd part wasn't even the sight at first. It was the way the rock moved. It shifted imperceptibly and resealed with this perfect fit that felt unnatural, like a mechanical exactness. Not something you'd ever get from normal geological work. No landslide, no erosion, no crack or fissure anyone had cataloged there ever behaved like that. The surface smoothness, it suggested a plan or design, which then raised questions about long-ago powers or something like hidden technologies. And Doyle's unexpected clip, honestly, turned what had been a quiet, natural wonder into this scene of extraordinary mystery. Everyone wanted straight answers, but the more people looked, the more the questions piled on. What made that solid rock move? What was concealed on the other side? And why did it decide to show up now after all this time? The first jolt was just the start of it. After that, what came next would push against scientific confidence and bring old legends back into the conversation in a very serious way. Doyle's footage wasn't only a strange visual glitch. It felt like a doorway, a passage toward truths nobody had been preparing for. From the stone door's first shift, a new chapter started for the Giant's Causeway, one where myth, science, and things that don't follow explanation collided in ways nobody could have really forecasted. The enigma of the stone door invited a closer look into the myth and science woven into this ancient landscape. The myth and the science. The Giant's Causeway has long been a place where mythology and geology intertwine. Its famous interlocking basalt columns are not only a geological marvel forming a UNESCO World Heritage Site, but also the centerpiece of a legend about Finn McCool, a mythical Irish giant said to have built the causeway as a bridge to Scotland. For generations, storytellers have woven epic tales of Finn McCool's feats, his battles, and his fantastical role in shaping the landscape. These stories evoke a time when giants roamed the earth.
Finn McCool was not a good swimmer. So he used the material that the volcanoes had left behind to build a causeway to Scotland, and he called it the Giant's Causeway.
A world vastly different from the modern scientific understanding of Earth's history. These myths imbue the causeway with cultural depth, sparking imaginations beyond rocks and lava. Scientifically, the Giant's Causeway formed approximately 60 million years ago during intense volcanic activity. As lava cooled rapidly, it contracted to create the distinct hexagonal basalt columns whose geometry has fascinated scientists worldwide. The site has been extensively studied, revealing insights into volcanic activity, basalt formation, and erosion processes. Decades of geological surveys, ground-penetrating radar, and seismic scans have consistently shown solid basalt extending deeply beneath the surface. No cavities, no chambers, just continuous volcanic rock, hardened over millions of years. These findings reinforced the understanding that the Giant's Causeway was a natural formation, static and unchanging beneath its surface. This scientific certainty made Doyle's footage kind of perplexing, you know. How could a massive basalt slab connected to ancient rock move on hinges? And what kind of darkness was sitting behind it if it wasn't solid rock? Like, really? The option of a hidden chamber didn't just challenge things, it directly ran into long-held geological consensus, and that felt strange. For the local community, and also visitors, the footage gave new life to the old legend. Suddenly, Finn McCool's story wasn't only folklore, but appeared linked to a real and still unexplained happening at the site. This mixture of myth and science created a compelling yet unsettling narrative, pushing skepticism and belief both at the same time, in a way. Geologists then faced the challenge of juggling rigorous scientific methods with this extraordinary observation. Could a natural geological process account for it? Or did this discovery hint at something extraordinary buried beneath the basalt, something modern science somehow overlooked for centuries, almost on purpose? The overlap of myth and scientific inquiry made experts feel a kind of urgency about examining the stone door and whatever mysterious contents were involved. It felt like a rare chance to rethink what the Earth under the causeway might be concealing, and maybe even revise a piece of natural history. At least that's how it looked. As these questions deepened, the first serious scientific response came with an AI-assisted scan that would forever alter the investigation's course. The results of that first scan would shake the foundations of geology itself. The first AI scan shock. The day after Doyle's footage exploded online, Dr. Sarah Brennan arrived at the Giant's Causeway with one goal: to prove the impossible was only an illusion. She was not a conspiracy hunter, not a myth believer, and definitely not someone who chased viral stories for attention. She was a senior geologist with 15 years of experience studying Antrim's basalt formations, and she knew the causeway's volcanic structure better than almost anyone. To her, the idea of a massive stone door opening inside solid basalt sounded absurd. But the footage had one problem: it looked too real to ignore. So Dr. Brennan brought advanced ground-penetrating radar, enhanced with AI analysis, to the exact cliff face where Doyle's drone had captured the movement. Her team mapped the coordinates, stabilized the scanning grid, and began pushing signals deep into the basalt wall. At first, everything seemed normal: dense volcanic rock, no visible opening, no surface fracture, no sign that anything had ever shifted. Then the AI system detected something that should not have been there. Behind the basalt, buried where every previous survey had shown nothing but solid rock, was a hollow space. The chamber measured roughly 12 feet deep and 26 feet wide. It was clean, defined, and unmistakable. This was not a random crack or a natural pocket caused by erosion. It appeared enclosed, hidden, and impossibly preserved behind a wall that had no entrance, no tunnel, and no visible seam. For Dr. Brennan, the discovery was already alarming. Basalt forms when molten lava cools and hardens. Once it solidifies, it does not simply contain empty rooms behind perfect stone doors. Yet the scan showed a chamber sealed inside the cliff, as though it had been waiting there for millions of years. Then, the AI-enhanced imaging sharpened. Inside the cavity, 7 vertical shapes appeared. At first, the team thought they were mineral columns, but the system began separating the forms from the surrounding rock, identifying symmetry, spacing, and height. Each figure stood between 7 and 8 feet tall. Each one appeared upright, and most disturbing of all, they were arranged in a deliberate formation, evenly spaced, and facing the same direction, toward the stone door. No collapse pattern could explain it. No natural formation matched it. The figures were not scattered like debris or twisted by geological pressure. They stood like sentinels. Dr. Brennan stared at the screen in silence. If the chamber had been sealed since the volcanic event that formed the Giant's Causeway around 60 million years ago, then whatever stood inside should not exist. Humans were not there. Civilization was not there. Nothing in accepted history allowed for figures like these to be trapped inside ancient basalt. In that moment, the mystery changed. This was no longer just about a moving stone. It was about something preserved behind it. Something older than history, older than humanity, and maybe older than science, was ready to explain. The hollow chamber was no ordinary geological anomaly. What lay within demanded closer examination. 7 mysterious figures. The discovery of the hollow chamber was astonishing by itself, but the real shock came when AI-enhanced imaging revealed 7 tall figures standing upright in the darkness inside that sealed space. Each of these beings measured between 7 and 8 feet tall, arranged in a precise and deliberate formation. They were spaced exactly 4.5 feet apart. All facing the stone door they were sealed behind. This was no random alignment. These figures appeared to be waiting, standing like sentinels for a purpose unknown. What made their presence even more perplexing was how they were preserved. Basalt forms from molten lava cooling at temperatures over 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Under known geological processes, any organic or fragile material would have been destroyed instantly during the formation of the rock. Yet, these figures were intact and standing, suggesting they must have existed in their positions when the lava cooled and solidified around them. This fact alone rewrites everything we understand about Earth's timeline. Humans and even mammals as we know them wouldn't appear on the planet for another 59 million years after that volcanic event. Whatever these 7 figures are, they were already in place long before anything remotely like modern life had evolved. Their origins, form, and function defied logic and biology. The scientific community was forced to confront questions that science had never prepared it for. Were these figures artifacts of some unknown ancient civilization? Biological entities preserved by unexplained mechanisms? Or something else entirely, perhaps from an era lost to history or even beyond natural history? The mind races with possibilities, none of which fit comfortably into accepted frameworks. Even the local folklore kinda suddenly took on this eerie new light, like it was there all along, but nobody noticed. Could these beings be tied up with the legends of giants that long fascinated the region, yeah? Was Finn McCool more than just a myth, really? And while no ancient text ever mentioned a chamber like this, the whole discovery still suggested that stories might have roots a lot deeper than folks thought before. The formation's deliberate nature, it read to many as intelligence and intention, not accident or random chance, and maybe even a state of waiting. The figures weren't collapsed or broken either. They stood there poised, almost like they were expecting something to happen. That image hit a lot of researchers as both chilling and majestic, a moment frozen across millions of years, like the landscape just paused and never moved again, hinting at a story far bigger than anyone had imagined. The scientists involved in the early investigations, they had a hard time reconciling their skepticism with the sheer overwhelming evidence they saw on their screens. It wasn't merely some weird anomaly. These shapes were undeniable, and the implications were huge. Being shoved into a paradigm shift was uneasy, sure, but it felt unavoidable in the end. And then this revelation brought up big questions about life, time, and the forces that shape our world. Like what could keep figures preserved so perfectly for so long? Also, what could their presence mean for how we understand history and origins in general? Those questions set the tone for everything after, pushing teams toward more advanced technology and insight. While the investigators were getting ready for a deeper dive into this mystery, another expert showed up with new tools, just to shed light on what those figures were made of, and it was about to shock everyone again. The next scan would reveal the true nature of these towering figures, changing the story far beyond what anyone expected. Advanced scans and hollow shells. The following day, Dr. Ian Gallagher, a seasoned geophysicist with decades of experience in subsurface imaging, brought high-resolution scanning technology to the site. Known for his calm demeanor and exacting standards, Gallagher approached the investigation with professional skepticism, ready to debunk or confirm whatever lay hidden beneath the basalt cliff. Just 20 minutes into the scan, his composed exterior gave way to something rare, a visible shock. The data on his tablet showed that the 7 mysterious figures were not solid statues or mineral formations. Instead, they were revealed to be hollow shells, thin, fragile outer casings with empty interiors resembling cocoons rather than healed stone. This discovery deepened the mystery beyond geological phenomena. The shell material baffled scientists. It defied classification and material analysis, existing in a state no known organic or synthetic material could survive, especially after being sealed inside molten lava at temperatures exceeding 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Conventional science did not explain how these structures could remain intact after millions of years. This raised an unsettling question. If these hollow shells once contained organic life, or something living, had that life vanished? Or was it still present, concealed within these eerie enclosures? The answer was impossible to determine from scans alone, leaving the possibility open to both awe and dread. Gallagher saved the scan results on encrypted drives, anticipating scrutiny and the possibility of controversy. His findings were shared cautiously with a small circle of colleagues, but quickly drew attention from outside interests, including government agencies. It became clear that this discovery was not only scientifically extraordinary, but also politically sensitive. In response to the growing attention, soon after the scans, official statements show up, downplaying the findings and attributing the imagery to light reflection or equipment error. Those denials clashed pretty starkly with the data and expert testimony, so suspicion of a cover-up started to deepen. Meanwhile, the genuine researchers were under mounting pressure to quiet their work or face professional consequences, as if it was just supposed to stop. The intact nature of these shells, despite exposure to extreme geological forces, suggested something way beyond known natural laws. That preservation hinted at technology or biology that basically went past current understanding, maybe ancient or even extraterrestrial.
The Giant's Causeway is one of the most remarkable natural features on the planet for the simple reason that it doesn't look natural. You've seen the incredibly precise hexagonal columns that appear to be man-made.
The scientific community found itself on the brink of dealing with new realms of possibility, and honestly, that felt overwhelming. Now, with this strange physical reality sitting inside the rock, questions about the origin, the purpose, and any potential activity of the shells loomed larger than ever. The investigation wasn't just about discovery anymore. It became more like a quest to figure out what these shells really meant for humanity's place in history. As the secrets of the hollow shells rippled through scientific circles and the public, the implications unsettled plenty of people. Still, the story wasn't finished, because reactions behind the scenes showed that some folks were eager to control what the world would learn next. The shadow of a cover-up began to darken the investigation, threatening the truth behind these mysterious figures sealed in stone. The cover-up begins. News of the hollow shells hidden inside the Giant's Causeway basalt spread quickly, catching the attention of not just the scientific community, but government bodies as well. Within 48 hours of Dr. Ian Gallagher's report, encrypted emails and closed-door meetings became the new norm. An environmental agency team arrived at the site and issued an immediate public statement, dismissing the drone footage as merely a trick of light on wet rock and declaring the area completely normal. This official dismissal clashed sharply with the overwhelming physical evidence gathered by multiple experts, including Dr. Sarah Brennan, who had originally uncovered the hollow chamber. Yet she refused to endorse the government's report, a bold act given the pressure. Reading the draft statement twice, Brennan simply pushed it back across the table without signing or commenting and quietly left, a clear sign of her dissent. That evening, alone in her office at Queen's University Belfast, Brennan stared at her sonar data, the hollow chamber, the 7 tall figures. Unable to ignore what she had seen, she typed a brief but haunting email to her colleagues. Its final line read, "I have seen enough." 3 words that captured her scientific and emotional surrender to the inexplicable. Despite her resignation from the official investigation, Brennan continued to compile detailed findings. Over subsequent months, she submitted peer-reviewed papers to Ireland's Geological Review Board, only to have them outright rejected without substantive scientific debate. Instead, her work was dismissed due to supposed faulty equipment and flawed methodology. Behind this rejection, somehow a more troubling motive came up in private talks, the kind you only get when people think nobody is listening. A board member, speaking off the record on a burner phone, told Brennan that if he revealed biological heat signatures and those rhythmic pulses inside ancient basalt, it would split established scientific paradigms. He said such a disclosure would basically make everyone rewrite history textbooks, mess with evolutionary timelines, and flip what people assumed about intelligence on Earth. Not long after, the cliffs around the site were fenced in with heavy steel barriers and harsh-looking warning signs, usually for coastal erosion and falling rock hazards. At first, the public explanation sounded clean, but those who had tracked the numbers knew better. The real intent was to lock away the truth. Access got cut off fast, like abruptly, silencing any additional digging and keeping the official story steady. Researchers who had been on site felt the pressure tighten. A lot worried about their careers and were given direct instructions to stay quiet. No interviews, no publications, no talking on social media, not even a little. Still, a handful of scientists, including Brennan and Gallagher, kept copies of their data stored offline. They were stubborn about it, determined to keep hold of what they had found, even while the scrutiny kept piling up. This whole official suppression left a heavy stain across the investigation. What exactly was so dangerous or so disruptive that authorities would go this far to bury it? That question just lingered, adding a grim weight to the mystery hiding behind the stone door. In public, it went quiet, but in private conversations, the tension stayed alive and kept growing, especially once more scans hinted that the chamber's contents were changing in ways nobody expected. The mystery deepened when a follow-up scan revealed that one of those 7 towering figures had simply vanished. The vanishing figure. Just 4 days after her original scan, Dr. Sarah Brennan returned to the site to conduct a comparative pass, hoping to confirm her initial findings, or better yet, find an explanation that could unseat the growing enigma. Weathered and determined, she recalibrated her ground-penetrating radar and focused again on the sealed chamber behind the basalt slab that moved like a door. What she saw next froze her in place. One of the 7 figures that had stood resolutely before was no longer there. Out of the original 7, only 6 remained. This disappearance defied all explanation. No cracks, no debris, no new openings, and no signs of disturbance on the rock face. It was as if the figure had simply walked through solid basalt and disappeared into an unseen world beyond. Kieran Doyle had mounted a motion-activated camera the day after his drone footage went viral, pointing it directly at the rock door for 24 hours a day, every day for those 4 days. Despite this constant watch, no movement was detected on the exterior, no tremors, shifts, or vibrations. The massive stone door remained sealed tightly, without so much as a hint that it had budged. Yet inside that sealed chamber, one of the 7, described by researchers as a 7-foot-tall figure, vanished without a trace. No dust, no fallen stones, no cracks. Nothing explained the disappearance. This event left scientists perplexed and deeply unsettled. They had theorized about the chamber's contents for months, but this vanishing defied fallible human understanding and all known natural laws. The remaining 6 figures didn't scatter or react, not in any visible way. They just kept in formation, almost like they were holding a silent vigil. And it all felt, somehow, the absence of their companion didn't even register. That composed stillness, it was too steady, too calm, like they were aware of something or they accepted it, as if the departure was expected, or maybe even part of a process that humans can't quite map in their minds. The implications? Honestly, they were staggering. Could these figures be alive in some real sense? Were they vessels, dormant beings, or something else entirely? Something that doesn't quite fit the categories we use? Then, what did that mysterious departure actually mean? If one can vanish without a trace, what exactly awaited the rest of them? Scientists and other observers started to see it differently. They weren't just looking at inert geological relics, but phenomena that push past the usual boundaries, the ones between life, time, and space. The chamber no longer felt like a sealed tomb. It felt more like an active, evolving mystery that keeps adjusting its own rules. Some researchers admitted this only privately, after long nights when they couldn't sleep. They kept thinking about the vanishing figure and about the unknown fate of the one who left so quietly into the unseen. And now that the vanished one might be roaming free somewhere, the remaining 6 seemed to creep nearer, inching toward the stone door, like they were staging the next moment, whatever that may be. The chilling reality of change inside the chamber was a stark reminder. This was not an ancient secret locked away forever. Something was stirring, and it was moving toward the world outside. The warming heartbeats. In the weeks following the discovery, the team brought in Dr. Neil Callahan, a thermal imaging specialist from University College Dublin, to probe deeper into the sealed chamber's secrets. Equipped with state-of-the-art thermal cameras, Callahan's goal was to detect any natural volcanic heat sources or underground water channels that might explain the unusual findings. What she encountered was far beyond any expectation. Pointing her camera at the exact location of the hidden chamber, Dr. Callahan was shocked to see the thermal images flood with intense heat signatures. 6 distinct heat sources corresponded precisely to the remaining figures inside the chamber. Each radiated warmth close to 99 degrees Fahrenheit, the core temperature of a healthy living human being. The rock surrounding them, by contrast, was cold and damp, typical of the Irish coastal climate. This presented a fundamental contradiction. The Giant's Causeway was formed around 60 million years ago during volcanic eruptions, long before mammals or humans existed.
Geologists, however, say the columns were formed some 50 to 60 million years ago as the result of the outpouring of volcanic basalt.
The basalt should have been a cold, lifeless mass for millions of years, and any heat generated by its formation should have long since dissipated. Yet here were signs of living warmth sealed inside stone, a defiance of physics and biology alike. Callahan recalibrated the equipment multiple times, changed batteries, and ran her scans from different angles, all yielding the same result. The heat was consistent, unmistakable, and human-like in its signature. She even borrowed a second unit from a colleague's kit, which confirmed her terrifying discovery. Skeptical, she half expected the team to be playing a prank, but the grave looks on her peers' faces soon made it painfully clear no joke was being played. Adding to the mystery, vibration sensors installed along the rock face picked up a rhythmic pulse behind the basalt, a slow, steady beat repeating every 4 seconds. One senior researcher admitted the pattern was indistinguishable from a heartbeat, 6 heartbeats beating in unison deep inside solid rock. These biological signatures challenged everything the team thought possible about the figures and the chamber itself. More alarmingly, follow-up scans showed the 6 entities were not stationary. They shifted positions gradually, moving inches at a time, clustering a bit, then edging closer to the sealed door. The movement was subtle, barely perceptible, but consistent and directional, like a shared purpose to reach the exit. The earlier military formation, the one everyone pointed to, was slowly breaking down, replaced by a tighter gathering, almost focused in one place. The team overlaid multiple scans into a composite map, revealing a clear route traced by the 6 figures toward the stone doorway. Researchers kind of froze into silence, because they realized these ancient beings, locked away since before mammals roamed the earth, were now awakening, slowly but surely, approaching freedom. The implications of their imminent emergence sent chills through everyone present. Not in a dramatic way at first, but in that lingering, hard-to-explain way. Interestingly, the thermal readings fluctuated unpredictably. Sometimes they spiked above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, then settled back down to 99. Those shifts didn't line up with obvious external influences like weather patterns, tidal shifts, lunar phases, or seismic activity. Instead, the variations looked like they were coming from within, like signs that whatever was inside was alive and responding to some unknown stimulus. Across the world, Over 1 million tourists visit the Giant's Causeway every year, unaware that just a few dozen feet beneath the black basalt, 6 warm, pulsing entities are inching toward a stone door that once opened and revealed something out of legend. The Giant's Causeway holds an ancient secret sealed in basalt, where 7 mysterious figures stood locked away for millions of years. And now, with 1 vanished and 6 stirring, the world watches. This story challenges what we know about life, history, and time itself. If this sparked your curiosity, don't forget to like this video, subscribe for more deep dives into the unknown, and watch the next video shown on the screen, because the next mystery may reveal something even more impossible.